Hey, welcome back. So in this video, what I ended up doing was I wanted to have an application that showcased the preemptive multitasking nature of the operating system. So I asked Claude here with this question. What application or applications could be written as packages for this operating system that would showcase preemptive multitasking being heavily in use versus cooperative multitasking? So it took some time, and then it determined that we actually have some issues with our kernel and package structure that prevents us from having true preemptive multitasking. The packages themselves could not have tasks, so it needed to make some changes. It decided that in order to actually do this, we needed to have a package worker task, because that's the only way that we were going to have the ability to manage the scheduler correctly. So I decided to go ahead and do that, and it recommended the following applications. It said that you could do an audio player under load, which eventually we will be building a mod player, a graphical one. But for now, what I ended up choosing was the Mandelbrot fractal renderer, which I haven't loaded yet, but we'll take a look in a moment to see what it ended up doing. The other thing that it recommended was a jitter meter, the best pedagogical app. Yeah, but I don't know. That sounds boring. And a multi-instance throughput racer, so a little display of sorts, and then Conway's life at a large grid. This is another one that we're probably going to build just for scientific purposes, but not right now. This time, I decided to do with the go ahead with the fractal. So I asked it to do the fractal, and it let me see. I said, can you add the ability for packages to have worker tasks that allow true preactive multitasking, then ultracode a Mandelbrot fractal renderer? So it went ahead and did that, and it kicked off a workflow. And let's see here. So now the kernel has two slots for the package and for the worker. Let's see what else. Can we call from entry proc? The app renders five fractals. Okay, that's because I asked it to provide more than one. And yeah, let's see here. What landed? All right. Blah, 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 blah. For reviews, the nice thing about these models is that it finds issues at the end, and then it resolves them. And the honest caveat: cooperative and preemptive mode look identical with this app. The reason is instructive. If your calls yield once per scanline, 300 times a second, far more often than the 18.2 hertz tick would preempt it. Cooperative mode only removes the involuntary switch, so the switching points are the same set either way. So the app proves preemptive works. 2 instances interleaving, 92% CPU correctly built to the instance in the task manager. The desktop fully live during the render, but not that it's load bearing. It's a well-behaved cooperative citizen. If you want the AB you asked about in your first meeting, that changes about 10 lines. A view yield per row toggle off to once while preemptive stays smooth. Let me see what it says. If you want the A/B test you asked about, the change is about 10 lines. A view yield per row toggle off plus cooperative drops a machine to 1 second watchdog granularity while preemptive stays smooth. One gap I'd close either way. Recorder is spec 2500, but Fractal has no section of its own. It's only described in 20.6 asides. Okay, so it's saying that we should update the spec. All right, well, maybe we'll get to the point where we'll have some really intense applications that would benefit from preemptive. Let me see. All right, so let's see what happened. So we're gonna go to load the XT box and generate some fractals. All right. Here we are loading. All right, let me see here. So now if we go to disk B, we have Fractal, like the icon that it shows. That's pretty cool. Piano is still the largest application. All right, so it just starts doing it right away. Oh, but it restarts every single time I move the... Huh. All right. So I gotta figure out why it doesn't like to have windows overlaid over it. So why can't I load more Fractal instances? All right, so here we got 2. Huh? Oh, that's gonna slow down. So now we're gonna Julia. All right. So there you go. We have 2 fractals going on. So one in the background. Obviously, the application that is, or is it because the other one is more complex? That's probably it, right? All right. So when we move this over here, I don't like that it restarts every single time I move over the Julia Rabbit. No. Let me fix that. I'm gonna ask it to fix the fact that every single time I move the window, it restarts the fractal instead of continuing it. I don't like that. All right. So what I'm asking here is, why does the fractal restart every time I move the and redraw the window? I would expect the state of the fractal to remember to continue where it was after it is redrawn. So let me do that and see what the reason is and see if it can fix it. All right, so here, as you can see here, now we have the task manager and 2 fractals going. So the results so far are pretty good. When the main window is not the fractal, when the main focus window is not the fractal, you can see that it's going pretty slow. But this is remember, this is a 4.77 megahertz machine, so it's gonna be slow no matter what we do. But it is doing something. It is preemptively moving between tasks and giving some of the CPU share to one fractal, another fractal, and the task manager. So yeah, let this continue here, and it's gonna do multiple scans of each one until it gets really, really nicely refined and it wraps up. So let's let it do its thing. All right, so I've been messing around with this, and what I want to do is I asked it to see if we can fix some things. I want to be able to not lose the status of the applications when a redraw happens. For example, every single time I move something, the fractal restarts. Look, if I move the Minesweeper, the fractal restarts. So first thing is I want to make sure I maintain state. The other thing is whenever I have a window overlaying another window, it stops. The background processes are not running. So I want to make sure that that continues to happen. Like an actual multitasking operating system, I want to see the updates happening in the background. Now, this is going to be probably really slow with the 8088, but with faster machines like a 286 or a 386, it should be okay. I think it should run pretty well. So what I asked AI to do is to fix those things. So let me see if it actually did something that works. And I apologize if my voice is a little bit rough. I'm a little bit sick, so bear with me here. All right, so I asked it to create a spec. So I asked it to look into what it would take to not only continue like hold state, I mean, for the fractal, but I want it so that I want the background processes to continue rendering graphics, even if it's not the window that is in current focus. So it did some investigation, The key structural finding, okay, will all funnel into graphics fill and every primitive, okay, so a clip hook placed above that line covers VRAM back buffer. Okay, so it created a spec. So let's see what it says. 300 line rebuild, no code changes. Every line number measured in it verifies against the source itself. The repaint problem captured as you expect with the measured budget table. Okay. Part 2, drawing behind I investigate, and it's tractable. The findings that shape it is why it's all or nothing today. Answer to Boolean, does any window overlap? Okay, so, and every background task uses it as a veto. Okay. A cover window that drew would paint straight over the window on top of it. Okay. One covered pixel therefore kills the whole frame. All right. The scope is smaller than it looks. The normal repaint path doesn't need clipping at all. Draws back to front, so the painter algorithm resolves overlap for free. Interesting. So it's going to be drawn behind. Clipping is needed only for a synchronous single window drawing, which is exactly the background tasks. All right. So somehow previous work is helping us here. La 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 la. Clears that stops a leaked region from truncating the next painter and the drag outline. Okay. Bounce also needs a behavior change, not just clipping. Says a skipped frame doesn't step either, so the ball freezes. With clipping, it should always step safe. Okay. From state, so it appears in the right place on uncover. Okay, that's good. So that's one thing that I was annoyed by. So it would freeze the UI. So one correction, I initially wrote 6,000 bytes of kernel headroom. That's assertion. The binding guard is assertion. Okay, the far blob. Sorry if I'm... Okay, so 4K of... All right. Anyway, thanks for hearing me blabber there. What I'm going to do is I am going to push a release for the previous work really quickly, and then I'm going to kick off this work. All right, so we're almost done with the work to be able to redraw with behind in background windows. So right now it's waiting for 6 reviewers and their verifiers to finish. So if I go to the workflows view here, it used let's see here, it's doing a review and verification, and then this is the survey to build the thing. So I'm not sure what a review is, and but it is working. What was my request? I forgot. Okay, so I just asked it to alter code the changes in the redraw spec, and the redraw spec was all the work to be able to handle multitasking of visual like rendering. So I don't think I said that right. So to be able to like drag windows above other windows and continue seeing the updates of the other windows in the background. For example, I can have the bouncing ball kind of like bouncing behind a window like a notepad, and the notepad continues to work and the bouncing continues to bounce, and it redraws cleanly. So we'll see how that performs with an 8088, but it should work. So that's the goal here. So I'm going to pause this again, and then hopefully it'll be done soon. All right, so here we are. We're finished. It took 1.5 hours. And now, if I run the operating system, it should run as expected. So let me see here. Do I have OS 86 running here? No, I don't have it. Sorry, 86 box, I mean. 1 second here. All right, so everything is pushed to a PR. And if I do make XT, let's do 640 kilobyte version of it. I think I'm also going to have I'm going to have it build a 286 86 box. It's a little bit faster, a little bit easier to work with when I'm doing some kind of a more intense demos. I think the XT is the basics. Like maybe you can run 1 or 2 apps. You know, eventually if we add printing and if we add a terminal, for you to use your serial ports, and that'll be something that would benefit from some level of multitasking on the XT. But I think the operating system becomes much more interesting when you start running it on 286s and 386 SX machines, because since it has native built-in FAT support, I can imagine this being a really powerful tool for people to work with older machines that would require you to have an XT IDE board, and this could actually could actually help you in some ways there. So maybe there's a cheaper way to get an XT IDE with this thing. If the operating system does all the translation stuff. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Let's go here and see what happened. So I asked it to do, well, before we load the fractal, let's see how the bounce demos look like now. So bounce is here. And as you can see here, we have the bouncing thing. And in the previous version, now you see? Now the overlapping windows continue to render as expected. That's awesome. That is so awesome. Now we have like a real multitasking kind of layer here. All right, so we'll leave the bouncing going on here, and then we'll load a couple of fractals. All right, we'll load a couple of fractals here. Let me see here. Let's move this over. Fractal. The disk access still blocks the UI. But now look, before, whenever I move the window, it would restart. Now it continues where it left off. That's awesome. And the bouncing continues. So it's real. And if I do this, it continues where it left off. So it's awesome. And what happens, I think sound, one of my next things for multitasking is I would love to have PC speaker sound not interrupt the whole machine. So I'm going to close this right here. Oh boy. Poor XT. All right, so we have that. We have some real multitasking going on here now. So we have that fractal keep on going, the bouncing keeps on going, and then if I load Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and replay, does that halt everything? Yeah, so right now, sound, it acts just like a disk support. Sorry, disk access. It freezes the entire machine. And I'm curious if when it stops, what's going to happen. Yeah, it continues. So I wonder if I can make this type of preemptive multitasking also make sound playback in the PC speaker function without stopping the entire machine. I think for notes it might be okay, but for like actual playback of sound on a slow machine might actually break things. So let me go and load up but the nice thing is now you have the fractal running, and it doesn't restart every single time. It continues where it left off. So that's great. That's what I would expect an actual application to do. And also overlapping windows continue to work. So that's great. And then I don't know if I showed this in a previous video, but I actually fixed the sound demo in the recorder. The original thing that the AI did was a 1 kilohertz tone, which sounded awful, sounded like garbage. But then I asked it to do a sweep of a 400 to 800 hertz sine wave, and this is what it came up with. It's like a short little sweep. Anyway, with that, I am going to let it go here, and you can see here the fractal is still going in the background. So now we have real multitasking. Like it's getting closer to what I would call a real multitasking operating system. So with layers of, like, you can see that this is great. This is when I run this on real machine, it's gonna be great. All right, let me stop the video here. If you like this kind of stuff, just please subscribe. I have so many ideas with this operating system. I am gonna build a terminal. I am gonna build a way for people to build applications for this. I am gonna port over some open source and some vintage applications to this, not to mention games. I actually built out full screen support in a previous PR, which I haven't tried yet, but I am going to port over Action Retro's Artful Type application, which I think will be the first application that um, takes advantage of the full screen support that I built. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, I can't wait to see what else I come up with here because it's looking great. All right, well, thank you so much. Until next time.